What is going on, summoners? We're back with a Steel Fortress theory crafting video. So the update hasn't launched yet, but being that we just got a pre-patch download today, I do expect we're probably going to see this update land in game within the next 48 hours or less. That means there's going to be some major new stuff to do. There's so much theory crafting going on in the community. I love it. This is one of my favorite things about Summoners War, is coming up with new teams, theory crafting new things. I'm been hard at work. We talked about a lot of this stuff on stream last night, and now I really wanted to come out and talk, do a quick video to go over some of the things that we had put together, ideas we had of units and teams that we might be able to take into and up to B10 clears at a hopefully an autoplay with good success, 100% success rates. And if we can do it in under a minute, then wow, amazing. Imagine we hit that nail on the head. I would be insanely stoked. This is theory crafting. It's going to take some playing around. We tried to focus on talking about roles of things, as well as assigning monsters that are more accessible, a little bit more on the free-to-play side of the game. Some of them you still might have to summon for, like certain 4-stars and stuff. Twins. Twins are just going to make a speed run far more viable than not having twins would be. Not to say it's not doable, but anyways, let's get right into it. We'll quickly go over the boss, what he does, because that is going to tell us what type of units we're going to need to bring in. Of course, if we're doing a proper speed run, we're just going to want to get in there and nuke the boss as fast as possible. But these bosses do kind of have some mechanics built in to reduce the damage you do to them, even right out of the gate, so that you can't just come in and nuke them down in 3 or 4 hits. They are said to be a little bit stronger dungeons than our current Kairos dungeons, our current B10s. So we may have to reapproach how we clear waves. The rune requirements for that might go up a little bit at least until we get some artifacts on those wave clearing units. Then maybe we'll be able to relax things a little bit more again. A lot of this will have to remain to be tested and seen, but this is theory crafting, you guys. Let's get into it. So, Steel Fortress. Big, old, heavy-duty, slow-moving, clunky boss that has a lot of defense, and from the sounds of it, probably hits pretty hard too, because he doesn't hit super often. If I had to make any comparison to anything in game right now, Giant's boss is who I am thinking of. So Steel Fist attacks all enemies and decreases the attack speed for 2 turns. This dude's probably really slow, so bringing will runes in is... You're gonna likely outspeed this guy, so will runes are gonna be a moot point against this. Immunity might be an actual thing that we need to bring in, though. We'll have most units that bring immunity are support type units and don't really fit into the speed clearing meta, the speed clearing ideal. But for a safer team, a unit like Fran, obviously, might be really good to bring some immunity in. Thunderblow attacks the enemy target 3 times and decreases the attack bar by 30% each. The enemy will be stunned for 2 turns if the enemy's attack bar becomes 0. Same idea. Immunity prevents this from being a thing. It looks like it's going to have to go through an accuracy resistance check as well, so you do have a chance to resist one or all of this. But if you're not over 90% attack bar and he attacks you with this, there's a good chance you're going to get stunned for 2 turns. Thunderbolt passive. So whenever the enemy's 5th turn ends, whenever your 5th turn ends, attacks a random enemy with a Thunderbolt. Attacks up to 4 times in proportion to the boss's attack power. He does increase his own attack power on his turn, by the way. And the attack will never land as a glancing hit. That doesn't mean it's a guaranteed critical hit, but it cannot glance you. Stuns the enemy with a 25% chance per beneficial effect granted on the boss. This dude does give himself 4 buffs. If he has all 4 buffs, that's a 100% chance to stun you. Again, resistance accuracy will be a thing, but that's activation chance, right? Stuns the enemy for 2 turns when the boss lands a critical hit. So if he crits you, remember you can't glance, you're going to get stunned for 2 turns yet again, just like with the Thunder Blow. Steel Will passive, so this is where he buffs himself. Increases the boss's attack power and critical rate for 1 turn when each turn begins. Think Antares, right? Every time his passive procs and he steals a turn, he gives himself an attack and critical buff for that turn. So that's going to be a thing, and that will last. That'll be during his turn, basically. Now, it grants a shield equivalent to 10% of the boss's HP. I don't know if that's maximum HP or current HP. It doesn't specify maximum, which leads me to believe it's current. And increase defense effect on the boss for 1 turn when the boss is attacked by an enemy additionally. The damage received from the enemy is decreased by 20% per beneficial effect granted on the boss. So, if he has the attack power, critical rate, and the defense and the shield on him, he's going to have 80% damage reduction. That's a lot of damage reduction. However, the attack power and critical rate should only be there on his turn, which should only matter for revenge, counter-attack mechanics on you at having those extra buffs. But the defense and the shield says it applies whenever he's attacked. So I think of Rena and her shield every time she's crit. She refreshes her shield. The only time that she doesn't refresh her shield is during a multi-hit. So, like Theomar's skill 2 that hits 3 times, if he breaks the shield on the first hit, but even though he keeps critting on the next 2 hits, her shield won't refresh because it's a multi-hit attack. I expect we're going to see the exact same mechanic here on the boss, except it's not on critical hits, it's on attacks. So all you have to do is attack the boss, and he's going to get this shield up. He's going to get a defense break up, or a defense buff up. So, think Amelia when it comes to the defense buff on getting attacked. Now, beneficial block is not a super common debuff in the game. Megan has it, Rahul has it. I think a couple other units might have beneficial effect block. Again, in a speed run, that is probably not going to be super viable. So we're going to want, if we're looking at speed runs, we're going to want to find units that can ignore or bypass this shield, this defense buff. If we can get a defense break on the boss, it should fairly nullify the defense buff. If we can get a branding on there, it should help to do more damage as well. Ayunu could be really strong here. Keep in mind, this is a wind boss, so we're probably not going to want water units. Now, we were doing some theory crafting last night on teams and roles that we might want to bring into this, and this is kind of what we came up with. Okay, you've got a stripper slash defense breaker, damage dealer, whatever. You could use Lauren. Now, Lauren can push the boss's attack bar back. She can slow the boss. She can defense break the boss, and she can heal block the boss. Now, I don't think heal block really matters for this guy. Slowing the boss is definitely going to prevent him from taking many turns on his own. But we still will have to deal with the Thunderbolt passive that happens every 5th attack from you. So it shows there's viability for Lauren there, as there is in most places. There's always a viability for a Lauren. Very accessible. Everyone's got one or should have one. Alsherion also kind of fits into that stripper role, right? When we talk about a unit that strips here, Chilling really came to mind, but he's a water unit and gonna really be up against the wall going into such a heavy duty boss as an off element unit. So Alsherion was the next one that really came to mind. He's got a defense break on him. His damage increases the more buffs he has on himself, and he strips as part of his passive and actually grants it the buffs to your team. So he could be insanely powerful here, especially teamed up with a Second Awakened Rogue that we've gotten here. A team up happens to bring Alsherion as well. That's an extra chance to strip. I would be leaning towards probably a violent set on the Alsherion to give him an extra chance to strip stuff more than anything else. Twins, of course, twins are going to be huge. If we look at Melissa, the Wind Chakram Dancer, this skill right here, okay, attacks enemy 2 times to to inflict damage that ignores all damage reduction effects and increases the damage by 10% each, according to the number of beneficial and harmful effects. Beneficial and harmful effects granted on the target. Okay, so she ignores the shield. She ignores the defense buff. She doesn't care about any of that. Okay, and she also allows the Boomerang Warrior that she attacks with the same ability. The Boomerang Warrior does not gain the increased attack from the amount of buffs and debuffs, but she will ignore that. So these two, okay, Melissa paired up with the Boomerang Warrior on this skill 3 has a chance to do massive damage on this boss regardless of his buff state. That is going to be insanely powerful here. Okay, we also talk about Shayna. Shayna's a very reliable defense breaker. She's an AoE, so she can help a lot in the wave clearings as well. But she has a defense break it built into her passive. So if you're going to bring Elsharion, I would say Shayna is probably a necessity here. If you're going to bring Lauren, then Shayna might be a little bit more flexible as a pick, because you're going to have a reliable defense break with Lauren, and you're going to want a defense break on this boss big time. I lean towards the Lauren side of things because of the attack bar pushback as well. We're going to have to see how much damage we're actually able to do to this boss, though, and how threatening that Thunderbolt attack really is. We mentioned Belager here. Belager would have to steal buffs from the boss to gain his stacks, but his damage would be incredible here. The problem, again, is getting him up to 5 stacks, and once he blows his load on 5 stacks, getting them back again. This team, you know, doesn't have an attack buff. You could bring Fran in. She's got the immunity. She's got the attack buff. She's got an attack break, as well as a bit of pushback. So, you know, you could consider doing a Fran in here as well. But I feel like there's not a lot of room for her as a pick. Maybe we run with Shayna anyway, or we bring in a second Boomerang Warrior to give Melissa an extra chance to cycle skills a little bit quicker. Next up, I got 2A Rogue or Vertiheel. Now, Vertiheel is going to give your team a lot of extra turns. He's going to allow you to hit that boss and do a lot more damage fairly quickly. And that's going to be really, really important coming into this. Vertiheel being able to cycle your turns so that Lauren can push his attack bar down again, so that Melissa and your Boomerang Warriors can multi-hit again. It would be really, really strong. On the other side of things, we got 2A Rogue. He's got a defense break built in. He's got, you know, Scratch could go crazy and really do some serious work on the boss, but that's really RNG, and we don't want to rely on that if we're counting on a consistent speed run. But his team up ability provides a lot of utility. If you're going to bring in Shayna and Elsharion, I would lean more towards Ryok. If you're going to go with Lauren instead of Elsharion, I'm leaning more towards a Vertiheel here. But we'll have to kind of play around and test it and see which one is really going to be the better fit. Finally, for the Boomerang Warrior side of things, you know, a lot of us use Sabrina in the existing dungeons, but again, water unit versus wind boss might have a really tough time in there. If you've got a Lauren in there, it might be a little bit more of a moot point, since you're only going to have to deal with the counter attack of Thunderbolt, not so much the boss attacking you. Although we also don't know what his towers are going to do, and I have a feeling his tower, one of his towers is going to grant him a turn. Another one might be a cleanse / immunity, similar to the Dragon's boss. So that is my suspicion on what his towers are going to be, and if so, we have to be wary of that. But Zenobia is the Wind Boomerang Warrior, and she has the same self-attack buff that Talia, the Water Chakram, has, and her third skill, you know, it does stuns. It hits really hard. A single target. The stun is a moot point because it's the boss. She's really there to feed with Melissa, because twins, when they pair up, is just more damage, right? And hopefully we'll team up with Melissa over Shayna on Zenobia's turn. And again, maybe this is why we consider another Boomerang Warrior for Shayna. If you've got a Martina, okay? If you've got a Martina, she goes in your Shayna slot, or she even goes in your Lauren Elsharion slot, and you will own this boss all day long. Okay, you run Martina, you run Melissa, you run Shayna, you run either 2A Rogue or Vertiheel, take your pick, and you run Zenobia. This boss is done for. You know, maybe even like Deva or something might not be too bad, but if you've got more pay to win options available, great. Leica could actually be just like a safety cheat code, similar to how he is in Giants B10 right now for this boss. Now, be wary, because the Thunderbolt passive does do 4 attacks. That would be enough to kill Leica if he hits hard enough. Okay, if your Leica's built really well and the 4 attacks wouldn't do enough to kill Leica on even on 4 crits, great. Keep in mind he'll still be stunned, so he wouldn't be able to heal himself. Now, and it's a random enemy that it attacks, so if the rest of your team's alive, you know, it might be a little bit RNG based. If you've got heal or attack break on the boss, you'll probably be able to survive it. So Leica could be a very big cheat code here. Leica also has Justice, which can bypass the shield, which can bypass the defense buff. So there's going to be definitely Nat 5 options that are going to be very viable here to choose from. But this is basically the team that we put together for the Steel Fortress to try it out at first. I'm really excited to try out this boss, you guys. We're going to try out variants of this team here. We might incorporate Leica as well and see how well that goes. If I had to put a spot in for Leica, it would probably be right here. Okay, and there it is. There it is, chat. Chat. There it is, YouTube. That's my theory craft for Steel Fortress. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like, smash that subscribe button. Drop me a comment down below. What do you think about this team, these variants? What have you been thinking of that you're going to try in this dungeon? Have we given you any ideas? Please share your ideas with me. Pop into the Discord as well to talk about it more. But drop me some comments down below, you guys. Let's get these videos into the algorithm and grow the channel. As always, thank you guys for watching. Happy summoning.